What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is, of course, my review for The Hunger Games, which came out in 2012. It obviously turns 10 this year, so I figured it gave me a pretty good reason to finally sit down and talk about this film with you guys. Obviously, this will be spoiler-free fashion. I know the movie's been out 10 years, but there's still plenty of people out there that probably have not read the books and or seen the movie, so no spoilers whatsoever. So, a little bit of background information about The Hunger Games. My relationship with this movie actually started before seeing the movie. I actually read the books, believe it or not. I don't really read that often. Back then, I did read a bit more, but the books, I was just so invested in it. I was so drawn to. I thought they were so fascinating. And then, when the movie came out, this is a movie that I wasn't really allowed to watch in my household, but I remember convincing my parents, and I remember being quite surprised that I was able to do so. But I did, and I remember I saw it with my dad, and we both really liked it, and I ended up buying it on DVD, and down the line I ended up buying it on Blu-ray. I actually did recently sell it on Blu-ray, so I'll get into that in a little bit. But basically, this was a movie that as a young teenager I did quite like, and I did see many, many times on DVD. I just remember really being fascinated by the way this movie was paced, really kind of the ambitious themes and everything. And then in addition to that, also the performances, especially Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence was someone that at this point in time, she was known for Winter's Bone among the indie front, but many other people didn't really know who she was. So for me, this was kind of my introduction, and I knew that from now on, whenever I see she's in a movie, I'm going to watch it. So she's someone that I still really, really respect, and I think that this is still a really good performance from her. She's very, very much so in the zone, very raw, very visceral, and I really liked it. Also liked her chemistry with particularly Josh Hutcherson. Josh Hutcherson was someone that, growing up, I watched a lot of his movies, like the Journey to the Center of the Earth movies, and I think that he's someone that is quite underrated. He's not an amazing actor per se, but he is someone that I do enjoy his presence in the presence of this movie, and I think that he does such a good job with Jennifer Lawrence, with her chemistry definitely being palpable. The other thing is that the supporting characters are also really good. I mean, you have Woody Harrelson, you have obviously Donald Sutherland, Stanley Tucci. Really good characters. Elizabeth Banks, the makeup on Elizabeth Banks, holy cow. Makeup in general in this movie is really good stuff. Makeup, costume design, really, really interesting and intricate. You can definitely tell a lot of money was put towards all of that. And I also do think that some of the visual effects and some of the cinematography, I do think that are quite interesting for sure, especially during the party scenes. But this is actually where I will probably go to negative. So I think that this movie having a PG-13 rating greatly diminished the movie. Because, hear me out, this is a movie dealing with kids killing kids. And that's something that inherently doesn't really sound PG-13. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really sound like something where it's like, yeah, it's 13, 14. It's like, yeah, it sounds like something that's like, a mature adult will want to obviously, watch it and marinate on everything that's going on. Now, I'm not saying I want it to be excessive, but I do think that with the violence that's on display, them cutting away or having where the camera is, all shaky and you can't tell what's going on and it looks like Michael J. Fox filmed it, that to me is an issue because there is blood in this movie, like a little bit here and there, but the overall impact really isn't felt because they either mute the sound effects, they either shake the camera to death, or they just have it where it's incomprehensible. And it's not even just the fact that the camera work is kind of atrocious at times. It's also that the color palette of the cinematography is very, very bland at times. And I really don't know what happened here because there were some instances where the color palette's really good, but then there are other times where it just seems like it's so desaturated to the point of it's lacking interest. And I get it that certain districts have it where it's that way, but then there are other districts, the more rich districts, you would think that would be rich and interesting to look at, but they're not really that so. And it's just really baffling to me personally. The other thing is, as I mentioned, the action scenes kind of goes hand in hand with the cinematography. The action scenes, sometimes it's interesting, but then anytime it gets interesting, the camera just has to herk and jerk and jerk. And again, I just think it really holds it back. Other thing I wanted to mention is that although I like the score by James Newton Howard, I do think that the score at times should have been kind of amped up a bit more, but I do think that it's still a good score nonetheless. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and this is something that definitely will vary between viewer, but I feel like the rewatchability value for me personally isn't really there as much so. That's one of the reasons why I sold the Blu-ray, because I can't really see myself revisiting this movie that many more times. It feels like almost like a time capsule, like a movie that I'm glad existed because it was very important to me with, my next sleep, if you will, as a movie buff. But I now look at it and I just say to myself, it's a movie that could have been so much better than what it was. But it's still a movie that is entertaining. There's no denying that. It's a movie that I will say it's well acted. It's got some good filmmaking. Some filmmaking hampers it back greatly. But it's overall still a pretty entertaining movie. And I will say The Hunger Games, flaws aside, I will still be giving The Hunger Games a... So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Hunger Games, guys. Again, it turns 10 this year. Hard to believe it, but it's still, again, a movie that I would say is worth your time. So definitely check out The Hunger Games if you haven't done so already. And what's your thoughts, guys, on The Hunger Games? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What's your favorite Hunger Games movie? I would have to say, for me personally, it would probably be Catching Fire, although the first Hunger Games is also kind of like neck and neck. But again, I'm here to hear your guys' thoughts down below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.